cats. This one's a healer, but they wanted a big focus with blankets, so I've got a bunch of blankets. I'll tell you, out of everything that I try to find reference of, blankets is the worst. Because if you ever search blankets, they're always folded. You can't find like nice reference of flowing blankets or anything, and to do it yourself kind of sucks. So what are you to do, you know? Like, I almost wish I had a 3D program again so I could do like fabric simulation, because I know how to do that. And that would really help me out. But anyway, so there's this one, and like I said, this one's like a healer. This one's very much a queen. She has these little mice toys she likes, and she's also very loud. So we've got this. So I'm going to be working on these today, but before I get to that, I kind of wanted to just do a sketch of something. Oh, they probably already know, Jazz. Honestly, it's not underground knowledge. If you actually Google this guy's name, he's in charge of running the cons. His name's Ryan Kopp, so a lot of people already know about it. Oh, thanks, guys. Let's see. This is my tiny sketchbook. I usually take it like on airplanes and stuff with me. It actually fits perfectly in my purse. So here's some little sketchbook run through I've got. So I made that for when Gabe and I went to Dragon Con last year. And then I've got a lot of some ink stuff, some ideas. That one I never finished. More ideas. A lot of my book of books that I was doing. I still have to make that book of books. Oh shit, I have to send this to Desperado. So Desperado bought this one. Let's see. This one was like a tapestry book. Stone book. Caterpillar leaf book. Honeycomb book. Treasure chest book. Door book. Couple cute little plants. Puzzle book. Sewing book. Herald book. Like an ecosystem aquarium book. Frog book. Eclipse book. Nest book. Rat King book. That I don't know. I think that was gonna be a beaver book. Oh no. Oh, that's sad. That one's a goblet book. Weird book. Little guy with an acorn. Let's see. Little beaver guy. This is part of my new series I'm gonna do for August. I always wanted to participate in Smogust, so I'm gonna, but you'll hear more about that later. That's gonna be a coloring book. These guys, this is an onion guy. So he's got like a green onion top, and he goes into an onion bulb, and then these ones are like little onion dudes. She was gonna be using a loom, I think. Lots of unfinished stuff. There's your little hut. This lady. I just really want to do a bunch of spot blacks on that one. Little corn follower guy, you've probably seen him online. I think she's a thistle puller? I don't know. This one I just posted last night. Those were done on a plane. Might post this one tonight too. So that's where I am in that sketchbook. You probably saw there are a few like pages that are empty. That's pretty normal. If you've got a couple empty pages in your sketchbook, don't worry about it. You're fine. Ooh, I'm gonna sharpen my pencil and it's right next to the microphone, so. Oh, Wubbles, you like the onion guys? I did too. I'll go back through. Hey, Goss. I just did a sketchbook run through. The onion guys, where did I have them? Yeah, so a lot of the time at a con, if I'm smart, before I go to the con, I'll go through my sketchbook and pull them out, scan them, and then frame a couple. I don't know, I really like this one. Oh, he's got a little tail like a rooster too. That's part of his onionness. But he reminds me of my squash spirit. So maybe I could just make a little zine of like little, I don't know, vegetable spirits or something. That'd be cute, right? I mean, but like, I feel like it'd end up being like radishes, maybe some beets, kale. I don't know. So I was gonna just warm up really quick before I get to the commissions. And today for all the commissions, since you guys, for those that just came in, I'll be working on these today. Now, most of them are like rendered out, like rendered in terms of they have shading and they have highlights, but I have to actually pump the color on these, so I'm going to be using pastels to do that, especially this one. It looks a little bit more saturated in the camera than it actually is, but it needs some variation, so I'm going to be doing that. This one's a smaller one. Oh, I forgot to tell you, do you know Alive Chicago? They're like a pet rescue. They contacted me for seeing if I wanted to donate some commissions to their auction. I think I'm gonna. They just need to know it's gonna be a little bit. Yeah, Jazzy, he's got some things against him, you know. Hey DHT. So how have you guys been doing? How's your week? I keep forgetting Thursday means like the week's almost over. Also, I think all the kids are home because it's spring break.
Yeah.
Is it spring break? Can
Yeah.
anybody like confirm that?
My brother's on spring break.
Oh, is he?
But he's in college, so I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, so the kids next door and the kids across the street, the little girl next door, over here, Gabe?
Yeah.
This one? The crazy lady's kid? She took out the garbage today. And she's teeny and she couldn't get the garbage into the garbage can. It was kind of funny. Spring break's last week. It's true, Spongy, and I commend you if you're able to like actually start working right away when you've started working from home, because it took me, and is still taking me, years to get used to working from home. So, the week's been meh. I'm sorry, Wobbles. Has the weather at least been good? Because the weather here's been pretty nice. Today it almost got up to 70. But yeah, all the kids are home right now. Is there any way you can like look up if Chicago schools are having...
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, like every kid. Like
So-
there's kids everywhere, so
Oh,
it's gotta
okay.
be. And then like last Tuesday maybe, whenever I went to the gym, there was kids at Dairy Queen. And it was like 2 in the afternoon, so.
Oh, okay. No, Wobbles, really? Oh. Don't put coffee in your computer. Good advice. Good advice. Doodling is always great. I agree. Weather's been chilly. Oh, man. Well, buck up. I think you'll be better soon. So I'm going to do a little warm-up here real quick. Little loose warm-up before I get to rendering. So I don't really get to draw much. So on one of these commissions, this cat has this toy that's like a mouse, but it's got a feather tail, and I really dig that. So I wanted to just draw a mouse with a feather tail. And if any of you have been following me for a long time, I had a story about 3 years ago or so that had 2 mice that were friends and one had wings. So I do really like doing these stories that have you know, animals that have extra things that maybe they don't usually have. And picking animals that usually people wouldn't pick. Not like a horse with wings, and, you know, obviously Pegasus. But I also did one with a goldfish with wings, and I really want to go back to that. Those are on my Instagram from like 5 or 6 years ago. They just, I don't know, for some reason with goldfish it looked really right on, but... Where did I get the ears, DHT? I got them off Etsy. Set in on some streams of other artists. Yeah, the self-defecation thing. Yeah, a lot of artists on Twitch even, like you're saying, Spongy, they just rip into themselves just on camera. It's like, what are you doing? This is recorded. You know, this is not making you look good, you know? Maybe they have 50K followers though because everybody's pitying them.
But that's like
Hey, John Miller.
I feel like ladies do the same thing. Not ladies, I'm sorry. Some ladies and some dudes, I guess. I don't see it as much in dudes.
I do.
I'm ugly.
No, not like that, but like, I mean, there are some guys though, once you get talking to them, they're like, yeah, well, I'm not very handsome, and, you know, blah, blah, blah.
That takes a lot to get that out of the dude, though.
Depends on the dude. If they're already soft, you know, soft boys like to talk about it. I could name 3 right now off the top of my head. If you put me on the spot, I could.
I was gonna start doing their voice, but
No.
way too.
Don't call people out like that,
no,
man.
I know, that's why I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, so if any of you guys ever in person or are being recorded or anything like that, don't ever be like, yeah, so I'm doing this thing right now, but I'm usually not very good at it. Or, you know, you get halfway through a picture and you're like, yeah, I don't know, I suck pretty bad at doing, you know, hats, so maybe I should never do a hat again or whatever. Don't be that guy. It's really, like, it's not only embarrassing for you, I feel like it's really uncomfortable for anyone watching. They're like, ah, geez, maybe I should say something. And there's like this almost obligation for anyone that's around them to be like, no, it's okay, you're doing good, you know, and that just, I don't know, there's this weird feeling with that, so yeah, ugh.
I feel like the only time that it's cool to do that is when you're, like if you say, oh man, I suck at drawing hats, but I'm gonna keep doing it.
I don't think it's okay even then, because you should never be saying, I suck. You could say this drawing sucks, but the minute you're putting yourself in place of your art, it's really pathetic. You know, it's not good. Because you aren't your art, exactly. Your art is a reflection of you, sure, sometimes, depending on who you are. But you should never say, I suck, because the art sucks. That's just generalizing, and that's naive, you know? I don't know, it's such an amateur thing to blame yourself for your art, you know? I know it sounds kind of backwards, but it's so true that, you know, you should just know that your art is just where it's at. Okay, if somebody's making a table, right, and they started making the table, and they're like, oh, man, I really suck. This table looks like crap, so I suck. It's like, no. Wouldn't it be more accurate to say the table sucks? Like, your whole being sucking because of that table? That's weird. What if you make a really good pizza? You know? Like, I don't know, that once you start thinking about people are blaming their overall being for one thing being bad, that seems ridiculous. And that's okay, Wubbles. I mean, as long as you keep trying and you know you're doing it. But since you stream, make sure you're not saying that out loud. And as a streamer, that is kind of hard because you really get in the mode of saying things you're thinking. And I really do think it takes a while to be able to live filter on the spot and know not to say something before you say it. Gabe still needs to work on that. But... Hey, Creaturist, how are you? That's okay. That's not my fault. I mean, that's a better mindset, Glitter. That's what I'm saying. Like, don't blame yourself for your drawing being bad. Blame the drawing, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, you could be having an off day, right? And just because you're having an off day, like if this sketch sucks, that's okay. I'm okay with that. Maybe I'm not in a sketch mood today. Maybe since I'm going to be rendering soon, my rendering senses are heightened right now because I know I'm going to be doing it and I'm in that mode. So if I try sketching right now, it might come out like crap. That's okay. That doesn't mean I suck because that drawing sucks, you know? And just knowing that that's one iota of you, you know, 1 minute of you, like, in time, right? You know, it should make more sense when you put it in perspective like that. Because a lot of things can affect your art that aren't you, you know? Or even if it is you, some things can be tunneled through you that you're not expecting, that sort of thing. So, you know. Exactly, Wubbles. And I think that's part of eventually becoming a confident artist, is you won't even do that subconsciously anymore because you are comfortable with your skill level, you know where you're at. Even if you need improvement, you're okay with that. And you know what you have to improve, so it never comes out as like pity or anything, you know? Also true, Creech. Also true. Hey, Sarah. Oh gosh, yes. It is funny. I feel like that's the same thing as, like, I can make fun of my mom, but you can't make fun of my mom. Like, that sort of thing. When people are like, yeah, no, my brother, blah, 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 and they're like, yeah, your brother's stupid, and you're like, what'd you say? You know? It's the same thing sometimes with people's art, you know, if you hear someone saying, my art sucks, go up to them and be like, yeah, that does suck, and then see what they say. If they're like, yeah, you're right, or maybe they'll be like, you know what, it's not that bad. You know, it'd be really interesting and kind of telling, I think, of a character to see how someone would respond to someone else being like, yeah, it sucks, you're right. You know, I think that would catch people off guard. And it might make them think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that out loud. Oh, you know. True, DHT. Oh, yeah, I mean, Wubbles, that's interesting, because you shouldn't care about people leaving the stream. Like, that's interesting you brought that up, but if you care a lot about people leaving the stream, I think there might be something deeper there that you might have to think about. Because really, you shouldn't care. This is happening no matter what, with or without them, right? So whether they want to be there or not doesn't matter. It's if you want to be there or not. Don't let that, like, if there's just one person watching and it's a bot, does it really matter? No, probably not, because you should be doing it anyway, you know? It's not for them, it's for you. Just like your art. Your art isn't for other people, it's for you. Maybe when it's done, it's for other people. Like, usually I like to say that your art is for you while you're doing it. When it's done, it's for other people. That's why you give it away. Oh, you do have the viewer number off. Interesting. So what I do is I've got OBS up on half my screen, and then I've got the chat up here, and half of the window is off. So I only have the chat. And I usually do the chat only window, but I started getting rid of that just because I need the other windows up. But it shouldn't, though, Wubbles. You shouldn't have anything to worry about. Sarah, what did you ask Wubbles to do? Why are you asking him to message you? So anyway, apparently there's a cat toy of a mouse that's got a feather tail. And I'm into it, so... I want to try a stab at that. Even if it's kind of stupid. Just like a little idea. The whole idea is to get it down so maybe later if I want to make a better version or a more final version or just to remember I did it, get it down. Write everything down. Oh, Emma, thank you for the raid. There will be people that tell you doing that. That's good, Glitter. I like that. Oh, Spongy, you've got that one. Isn't it cute? I hadn't seen those before. I love it. He beats the devil out of it. Oh, Wubbles, I gotcha. It seemed really left field, like, hey, message me. And I was like, leave Wubbles alone. Hey, Meow Meow. Hey, Wade. Meow. What's up?
Meow, meow. Meow, meow.
Yeah, go eat something, Emma. I know how that goes. Do what you gotta do. I'm gonna make these ears a lot bigger.
Meow, meow.
Meow meow.
Hey, look, it's meow, meow.
Meow meow. It's more like she just points to it. How you doing, Wade? How's things? Gotta figure out how this would work. Things are good. How about you? Things are good. Hi, Rubberman. Things are busy, Wade. Really, really busy. Since Gabe and I have both gotten back from the cons we were at, I feel like time is going in like double speed. Every day feels really short, honestly. How did Gabbo do at the show?
Oh, I did awful.
No, he didn't.
So awful.
Don't lie to them.
I did as good as I did last year.
Which is good.
I might have done a little bit less though.
I don't think so, really.
I did.
Either way, though, like...
Either way I did. It was fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
You had fun, you made connections. I mean, the networking you did this year, I think, is really going to help you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the people in particular you talked to and the connections that you made, I think are going to pay off. So, I'd say that's worth it.
Oh, yeah. Future money.
Future money.
I got to do 2 really cool commissions. They're both D&D commissions. That was a lot of fun.
Those are really good, too. Are you going to post those?
Oh, yeah, eventually.
Okay.
Probably next week. After March of Robots is over.
Oh my god, that's right, March of Robots is still happening. That's another book I gotta put out. An elf princess. I don't know about the princess part. I don't know what about me says princess, but I'm an elf artist. How are you, Finnan? I don't know how I want this arm to be. Either way, this might be as much as I want to do for a warm-up right now. Because I really need to start actually rendering. Oh! Before I get to actually rendering the other pieces, I got this book at Emerald City from an artist. It's called Monsters You Should Know. It's by Emma Sancartier. It's a really nicely made book. Oh, thank you, John Miller. She's a queen. Thank you. By Durner. I don't know who Durner is. But it's a really cute book just about random cute little creatures they made up. And it reminded me of my Patreon right now, where I'm doing kind of a similar thing, but I'm doing a lot more than this, but they have this really cute just layout. It's cool because it's actually really thick, but it's laid out a lot like a kid's storybook. So I think some of these they made up, but some other ones are actual. Oh, I dig this one a lot. Actual, like, legendary creatures. But I don't know. I dig it. It is really cute. So she's got a lot in here. But yeah, some are actual ones from like other cultures, but oh, she actually had it published too. I actually didn't see this, that on the back there's an actual ISBN and stuff. So Emma Sancartier, I believe she says it. Alright. So let me get to rendering now, because I have a lot of commissions I gotta get through. So let's, I guess, finish up with Gozer here. Oh, second raid. Oh! Well, welcome! I'm glad you're here. Many thanks to the double raid. Yeah, the book's really cool. I like it. Actually, I wonder if I should do one of the bigger ones first. Shoot. Because this is a 7x10. Then again, you guys can see it a lot better. I think I'll be the other. That's okay, Wade. Thanks for coming. Enjoy your day, homie. Raid surfing. Well, thanks for the host, Raid. Wade. Wade. Well, that's cool, Finnan. I enjoy that. Alright, so this is the one that had those cute little toys. And right now, it's a little bit too saturated. So that's kind of the saturation I want it to eventually be. But we're gonna get it there using pastels. And so to be completely honest, it's probably about right there. More accurately. Alright, so let's get out the... I'm gonna go orange on this one. Orange equal gold equal orange. See, and already you can see how much that pumps that color up more. My process is really strange, and I haven't really seen anyone else do it. But that's part of mixed media. If you ever are, like, you know, interested in experimenting with different mediums and stuff, you might figure out your own process for things, and then, you know, if people start liking the look of it, and you can actually kind of, you know, retrofit it into making it a business, then you'll have to kind of make a formula out of it, which can be a really weird feeling. Do you remember when I was trying to figure out how to make this into a formula? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was, I mean, to say the least, it was frustrating, but because it's tough to look at your own process when it's art, and if it's so, I guess when you're in the heat of the moment and you're just throwing different mediums on the paper and stuff, and you're seeing what works with what, you almost have to take notes. So, I mean, if you're taking at least mental notes, that's good, but you kind of have to realize what you're doing just in case you hit something and it works and you have to do it again, you know? So, Geneva. No! American. Geneva, Illinois. Hey, Kitchen! What up? I am not European. Well, I mean, I am. My ancestry is, but I don't live in Europe right now, technically. How you been, Kitch? Gabe, when are you gonna send out the onions?
What?
The onion for kitchen.
Uh.
Wow, that didn't sound like blame heavy at all.
I could probably do it tomorrow.
You're welcome, I reminded him.
Thank you. I'm jump that down.
Yeah, way to be obvious that you forgot,
I
Gabe.
got a whole mess of things I gotta send out.
Yeah, you do.
I just haven't had time to get them all together and load them both and all that stuff.
I'm gonna sharpen this real quick, so give me a minute. Okay. Let's see. And then what's interesting about working like this, where I retrofit on the saturation, is some areas like don't need more saturation. In fact, because they kind of disappear back into space, and they're not hit by light really, things that aren't in the light are less concentrated, they're less saturated. So the things that are kind of in shadow, I want to almost leave unsaturated. I'm a worry mess. My kitty's out the vet. No! 6 teeth out. She had to have teeth removed? How come? What happened? I feel like our dog's in this awkward teenage phase, because she lost all her baby teeth and now she's got these 2 big like chomper teeth at the bottom, but she's still kind of tiny and wimpy, so she hasn't really grown into them yet, so she's got these giant like almost reverse buck teeth that I know she'll probably look pretty wicked with when she's a little bit older, but right now it's just kind of pathetic. Mouth full of stitches, but why? Kitty, why? Like, she's gonna look like, I think, a pretty picture-perfect bulldog, I think. Like, when you think of, you know, a caricature of a bulldog, I think that's gonna basically be her, because she's got the 2 ones at the bottom and the underbite. She's got that really apathetic look to her face. It's great. I know it's not supposed to rain today, but man, does it look like it. Has anyone fallen asleep and didn't know they were? What do you mean, DHD?
That's what happens when you're on the bus.
Like, you fell asleep and you didn't know you were asleep? Or like you fell asleep and you didn't know who you were anymore? Like, what do you mean? I'm a little confused. And then I think I might choose a different orange. Like, this is like an orange. But for the chair, I might make it more of a pale yellow just to separate it from this yellow, so to speak. Like, you hear the TV and next jump to about 2 hours. So you're saying you time travel sleep. You took a nap. Is that what you mean? There's some weird tooth disease or something. Oh no! Oh my god, Kitch. Does that mean she just has to basically have wet food forever now? I mean, Oh, I get what you're saying, DHT. So, like, you fall asleep and you didn't know you fell asleep. Okay, sorry. I don't know why I didn't understand that. I think I've done that before. I had to be really damn tired, though. Because you can ask Gabe. I never usually fall asleep, like, well. I think maybe I did that once, but it was maybe for like 10 minutes. I think I do that on the plane sometimes because it's so hard for me to actually sleep on a plane that if I do, it's a surprise. I know sometimes meditation can feel like that, though. Okay, let me try. Wait. Oh, poor kitty. What's her name, Kitchen? What's your kitty's name? Also, Glitter, thank you for helping me with the whole problem we were having earlier in Discord. I did not know that was turned off for people. It's so weird. I had like no idea. I thought everybody was able to access it. So that makes sense, I guess, why we haven't grown very much. You know that invite thing you do?
Yeah.
Apparently, that's turned off for people. Like normal people in the Discord. Like, she had to keep going to our Twitch to get the link. So I had to actually turn that on. Which is really weird. Like, I didn't know that's a thing. Nubby Space Princess. Oh no, is there a reason she's nubby? She missing her tail or have like nubby feet or something? Yeah, I did not realize that was a thing in the Discord. It seems really stupid. Like, why would you not have that on by default? Wouldn't you want people to share your Discord? Like, I mean, maybe if you, when you make it, and you make it a private server, maybe then it should be turned off, but, you know, for normal Discords that aren't marked as private, like, I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, she's a Manx. Okay, that makes total sense then. Alright, Glitter, take care. Thanks for coming. So, Kitchen, do you just call her Nubs? Like when you're just in passing? Is that her, like, short name? Because, like, the names we call the dog are rarely ever her actual name. We only use her real name when we're being pretty serious with her. Or praising her. You're never supposed to use, apparently, their name in a bad tone. You're always supposed to use it in a good tone. Which I didn't know that, but I've learned that now. Alright. So the chair at least feels like a different gold now than the dress, which is good. apparently Spectrum is this weekend, as is Planet Comic Con, whatever. Is it Planet Comic Con? Is that what it's called? So for those of you in Kansas City or around there, you've got a convention you can go to that's got some fine art in it. Gus, I don't know if you're still here, but that's going on. That's cool, DHD. Nubby Nibble Space Telescope. NSP. Stinkweasel. Oh, that's wonderful. This year, Desperado. Also, I pulled out your drawing so I can send it soon. Sorry about that. Honestly, I only have 2 more technically this year, which feels pretty good. So I've got the 2. So ASEN and Dragon Con for me. And then Gabe just has cake. He applied for New York though, so hopefully he gets into New York. Can't afford to drive to the hotel. Oh, gotcha, Gus. Yeah, I have no idea, honestly, how far away Kansas City is from where you are. I apologize. I'm still not good at distance. Okay, DHD. Alright, oh god. So bad about moving around the camera. It's working on these 9x12 pieces on stream is really tough because I have to keep moving it up and down so you can see where I am at technically. And I think WonderCon's this weekend as well. For anybody in California. It's like there is a con like every week. Every dang week. I used to be really good at geography. It was one of those things though where it's like I could name every country in Africa and show you where they are, but if it came to capitals in the US, I didn't know. It's weird because I don't know why our school would concentrate on things like that and not more on things that are like home, you know? But, I felt pretty cool about the Africa thing for a while. I mean, sometimes I forget Nebraska exists. Like, I don't know anyone from Nebraska, do you? No. Does anybody here know anyone from Nebraska?
No one leaves the state.
That's what I'm wondering. It's like, no one gets in or out. Like, Nebraska's locked down with who's already there. It's weird. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I just, like I said, I never think about Nebraska. Nope. See? Isn't that weird? I don't know. I find that really weird.
Why does they have comic conventions?
I don't know. I'm trying to even remember where Nebraska is now.
Ocon.
It's called Ocon? Oh no.
Not to be confused with Akon.
He's different. I'm not even sure.
Oh wait, no, this is Iowa.
Right? Okay, so I'm not the only one, you guys.
And I mean Nebraska.
Is it by Montana?
Oh, we should just go with November 1st to the 3rd.
No, that's okay. I like to keep money. Yeah, it's not that important, Wubbles.
I should ask to be a guest.
Oh no, Gabe, you are not going to Nebraska. I'll never get you back. No, I'm getting concerned now. No one knows. Like, what if this is a thing? You know? Anyway, maybe that's where the zombie apocalypse is going to start. Nebraska. Because no one thought about it. So I got my hair cut yesterday. No, it's okay if you didn't notice. You're not supposed to. It's just a trim on long hair. It's just not as ratty anymore. But that's not the point. The point is my hairstylist was Bulgarian. And she has kids, and they have a hamster, and I ended up being her savior that day. She had all these questions about hamsters, and I ended up being that guy, which at least I was in the know of the fact that I was that guy. And I told her, I'm like, okay, so I'm the dork right now because I know all this info I can help you with. But it was funny because she's very old school preppy, you know? So she had the kind of cheerleader look to her, and oh my god, oh, yeah. A little bit Valley Girl, but Bulgarian, I guess. But once she found out that I knew a lot about hamsters, she's like, oh my god, okay, so, and then she just had all these questions, and I was like, oh god, I know these, and it's like, I gotta fess up to knowing these. So I felt kind of like a dork. Have you guys ever felt like that, where some person is like asking for help with something, and you're like, oh, I know this, and this is gonna put me in a box, but okay, and then you just help out? It's like, then you're that guy. Oh, that was me. Can you not? Yeah, I'm a hamster dork. Also, interesting thing that I realized, kids always spell hamster with a P. I remember when I first had hamsters, I always put hamster. It's a kid thing, but they add usually they forget a letter, but anyway, something I noticed.
All those letters they forget and put in other spots.
What?
Like they forget letters in other words, so then they put them in other words.
Oh, maybe. Reallocate. Mushy. Uh-oh, is that dog waking her up? Like, is she awake or is she still out?
She's awake, but she's larger.
Her snoring always makes me tired. Like, oh god. It'd be like if you were at an office and one of your coworkers fell asleep in their chair and nobody woke them up, and it was okay that they fell asleep. Like, how that affects you. You'd be hearing them snore and stuff. You're like, man, they sound really comfy right now. Like, hearing the dog sleep when I'm working sometimes has that effect. Hamster dork with the long hair. I'm cool with that. I can deal with that. Someone at Starbucks asked what a matcha is. Really? But that's are you talking about the customers or the employees? That's true, Creech. That's true. So this cat is just about to munch down on these feather mice. Yeah, basically kitchen. So she's, I have a long way to go on her face still too. That's not done yet. But, they wanted her to be egotistical. You know, I ask all these questions and then all this stuff comes out. So she's very confident. She's got an ego. She's very loud. She has all these feather mice that are her favorite toy. So I made sure to include a horde of them where they're her subjects, but they're willing to sacrifice themselves for her. So it's it's a little bit deep and a little bit dark, but I mean, if I'm not about that, what am I about, you know? And cute things. Add cute things in there somewhere. Gabe, what's she doing? She might need to be combed again.
It's your comb. It's your horn comb.
Basically, Creech, yeah. She's still licking. I know that sound. Okay, put on her cone.
Hey. Hey, no. No licking. Oh, she was licking the floor.
Oh, great. Yeah, because that's so much better. Oh, God, the sound she makes. For anybody that isn't following our dog, on Instagram, you have to check out this one post. Is she still licking the floor?
No, she's on her side.
Alright, hold on. I put this up, I think, yesterday, and I don't know, it's just so funny because she's so tired and she doesn't realize what she's doing, and it's great. Really, guys? Wow, that's crazy. Hi, Mai, how are you? Yeah, the mites have been gone for a bit. Now it's just her face having to heal. Because apparently, like, mites are a very common thing. Puppies get them all the time. It's very normal. It's mainly because they don't have the immune system to fight them off yet. So they get them, but God, did the mites wreak havoc on their face. Especially bulldogs, because they have... just put her cone on. Because they have so many folds where the mites can hide, so they were in there and they were just biting her like crazy, so she has all these scars and scabs and things. So we have to cone her for a bit, but it's for the best. I watched the video killer. It's great. If you look at another one where she's licking something, she is the weirdest dog. I have never heard of another dog that licks like this. She does this, where she'll lick, and then she'll stop, and then she'll go, and she'll try to pull it, and she makes this, like, noise, and it's hilarious. Look on her Instagram for one of those other ones. I think I've got one with sound. It's so funny. I've never seen another dog do it. It's the weirdest damn thing. Okay. I'm gonna get this in here real quick because I didn't have it in there before. So one of my worst habits when I'm doing these bigger commissions, like I said, this one's like 9 by 12, is, you know, I'll start coloring it in and I'll kind of ADD and go to another spot on the piece, and then I'll jump to another spot, and then it's like I don't know where I am anymore. And I forget about certain spots, and then later on I'll get to another phase of the piece, like doing the pastels like I am now, and I'll see that I missed rendering out an entire other part, so I have kind of a problem with that. And that's something I haven't been able to fix, no matter how much I know that I'm doing it. I don't know why. I think it's part of just going with the flow of it and just knowing, okay, well, you know, I've got to do this, and despite how much I try not to, as long as I look over it enough, you know, a number of times, I'll be able to get it. Okay. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I have to go get pictures. I don't remember what her tail looks like. This cat's name is Frappe. Funny enough, like Frappe, as in Starbucks Frappe. They call her Frappe Cat. Which is kind of a cute name. I mean, regardless, Starbucks or not, it's cute. And then this other cat I was doing, this one, the Battle Priest. This one's name is actually GOZER, like from Ghostbusters. So, it's actually a really creepy looking cat too. I think it was a Cornish Rex, and Cornish Rexes have anything usually with the Sir tag of like Rex means they have like wavy hair. So the rest of the body on this cat has like wavy hair and stuff, and the face is super gaunt. So obviously you don't want to do something like, since its name is Gozer, I don't want to allude too much to the fandom, you know? But there are little things like, when you do a little bit of research, Gozer was originally from like Mesopotamian lore. So I looked up Mesopotamian like patterns and things like that. And this is the symbol for Gozer in like, you know, the comics and stuff. I'm just taking that one thing for them. And then the rest of this is like the patterning and things like that. So, but these are all things normal people wouldn't know. They're kind of Easter eggs for the owner. So it's kind of nice to include things like that sometimes. Let's see. Dang, something what helps us. Yeah, and I try that, Creech, but if I do that, the other problem is I overwork things. So if I'm like, yep, I'm gonna do this one thing and do this until I'm done, and blah, 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 then I'll just overwork it. So I kind of have to just go with the chaos and just make sure I can properly critique myself. Which, that's always just one of those things that you gotta get good at anyway. Is she still tired? Is that why she's cranky? What's wrong? Well, she can't get her horn gig. Gotta find a picture of this cat's tail. Come on, kitty. Yeah, you're gonna hear some dog noises. It's true. It's just one of those things where it's like, knowing where your shortcomings are is important. Yeah, you're gonna hear dog noises. Hi, Nick. What do you mean, what? Just come in here and say, what? Introduce yourself proper, like, son. Is going on in the back? Oh, that's my dog. My dog is currently possessed, so. She needs a hug. No, she's playing. She is playing. The thing is, we've got these giant art supply bins behind us that are made out of plastic, and she loves throwing her body up against them. So you're gonna hear, like, probably your nails going against the plastic a lot. Don't worry, she's fine. It sounds worse than it is. She likes to argue. What's wrong, Mushy? You sleeping? Oh, she's trying to get to her toy bin. What's wrong, honey? Didn't you get enough sleep? No, I haven't, Nick. Should I? Would that float your boat? Are you an ASMR crazy person? Some people are like, the people I know that are into ASMR are like into ASMR. Like, I don't know if there's anybody that can kind of softly be into it. I feel like that's one of those things, like, if you're into it, you're into it. She is cranky. She's cranky right before naps and when she wakes up from naps. And then you give her like 20 minutes and she's usually okay. But yeah, you are right. She's usually cranky. This tail is a bit longer than it really is, but that's for the sake of the picture. Oh yeah, help her drink. She might need help drinking. Every time she goes over to get a drink out of the bowl, since she has her cone on sometimes, we go over and we literally just hold the bowl for her to drink. Because she has spilt the bowl many times. Becomes part of you. Interesting. I don't think I'd be good at ASMR. I think I have too raspy of a voice. I have no fingernails. I don't know what I would do with it other than pastels, and some people hate the sound of pastels. So, can dogs use a straw? I don't think so. They don't have lips, technically. So I think because they don't have lips, they can't use a straw. That's my guess. I think you need lips to be able to form a seal. And go off of that. Raspy. It's funny because I don't know, I have kind of a raspy voice, at least it sounds like it in my head. Like I sound like a smoker sometimes, but I've never smoked. So I feel like I got cheated. Alright, so she's missing part of this black on her tail here, so. This is the only part, honestly, of pet portraits that kind of sucks, is when you have like an animal that's either got weird coloring or like has some sort of actual thing wrong with them, and you actually do it to be accurate, and people see it and they're like, I think you screwed this part up. And you're like, no, that's how the pet looks. I did not. Thank you, though. It's like there was, I think it was a Frenchie once. I was doing a Frenchie's portrait and one of his eyes was off, right? Not just a usual wall-eyed Frenchie, but like one of the eyes was on and the other one was way over here. And when I drew it, people were like, shouldn't you have drawn the eye like closer in? I'm like, no, because that's what his pupil was doing. He was really messed up like that. So, you know. Let's see. Well, thanks, guys. Now I know I could at least be into ASMR if I wanted to be. New York dinner waitress. Oh, I don't want to, though. I've really leaned into it on another stream. I think there's a clip of it. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a clip somewhere of it, Kitchen. If you want to go find it, go find it. But I did. Cheese ASMR? I don't even want to know. What? Why? When? Now? I don't want to do it now. I can't. Mushy, I've got people I need to entertain. What do you want?
Hey, come here. Come. Come here.
My accent? Oh, thank you. I thought you meant my real accent, my Minnesota one. Oh no. Yeah, the New York one. I do a decent Boston lady too when I get into it and it sticks. It's alright. There's actually a sound where someone cuts blocks of cheese. Okay, this sounds like a fart joke waiting to happen, I'm just saying. Someone carves soap. I could see that. I could see that. Is there like evil ASMR where it's like nails on the chalkboard, all the sounds people don't like, you know, but they're exemplified? Maybe like the military should use that. The Boston, not right now. You gotta keep coming to my stream for that. Mushy, get a hobby. Maybe she needs to go to the bathroom. She did take a long nap. Barf. Boff. Have you ever met someone, though, that likes nails on a chalkboard? Ugh.
Ready?
No, now she's yelling at everyone. Yeah, I think she needs something. Usually when she gets this demanding and she'll come up to me and stand on, I have a footstool. If she like stands on my feet on my footstool, she's demanding something.
Come on.
Papa's gonna take you out.
Let's go.
Go outside.
Come here.
Kidnapping roleplay? Okay, but I don't get how role plays can be ASMR. I thought ASMR was just like sound effects and kind of talking, but not like with any direction. I feel like a role play then would just be, yeah, it'd just be like a podcast basically. Like what makes it so
Or just people
ASMR-y?
just whispering the entire time?
Yeah, like what does it mean? I don't understand. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm trying to get my bearings. I think is this gonna work? That should work. And then let's use this guy. The whole attitude. Okay, so that's kind of confusing then. So the attitude, the voice, the whispers, everything is very calming and reassuring, but they have kidnapping as like the content? Isn't that a little strange? No, that's not a machine gun, that's our screen door. But I just don't get how they could... You shouldn't talk loud and fast. Or... So they have content that's scary or terrible, but it's done in a calm way. That's really creepy. Does anybody else think that's a little creepy? Also, something else that's kind of interesting, hopefully no one takes offenses, but I only know guys that are into ASMR. I don't know many women that are. Okay, Mai, thanks for coming. Miss ya. Yeah, that's creepy. I don't understand. But I don't know any women that are into it. I only know men. Like, all the people I know that are into ASMR are just guys. For those of you who are really into it, can you confirm that it's mainly men? Thank you, Mai. I appreciate it. I will try my best. Okay. Thank you for telling me at least one lady's into a kitchen. Because, yeah, I don't know any ladies. I only know guys. And the guys I know that are into it, they're not... they're a little bit creepy themselves. So, personally, I don't have a good outlook on it just because of the people I know who are into it. But I'm sure there are people that are fine that are into it. It's just, I don't know many and I don't really get it. I mean, to me, it almost seems like a fetish. Honestly. I mean, maybe to some people, it's like whale sounds or something, like it's calming like that. I guess I could see that. But from the way it's been presented in so many outlets, I feel like it does have that fetish aspect. So... And I think I'm talking about, like, usually the sound effects ones. Hey, Mayfox! Oh, you went into the red. I could see that, great. It's actually getting kind of cold. Do you want to close the door? Thank you. Sorry to keep bugging you. Did she have to go?
She just paid.
Oh. I could see that, but I could also see like guys that have low voices, like super Barry Whitish, being popular. Because some ladies just like men to whisper. Like there's a whole thing about, I think college. No, maybe it was College Humor. There's a comedy page on Facebook that has Latin guys just talking to a big old black lady, and they're whispering in Spanish, and she doesn't understand a word of it, but she loves it, and it's cute just to watch her reaction. But, you know. I don't know why she's like this. She probably just wants to play. Every time she gets like this, she just wants to play. You might have to take her out back in the other room. I could understand that. Mushy, where's your tennis? Go get your tennis. Tennis! Where is it? There's your mouse. Your allergies acting up?
No, something worse.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You're sick? How can you tell it's not allergies?
Like that feeling, you know?
Uh-oh.
Do you know where we have some? I don't even know what to take right now.
What?
The airborne or the vitamin C?
Take Zicam.
Yeah, where's that?
There's a couple places it could be. In my bathroom, in my Ziploc bag, there might be a little thing of it. Otherwise, the hall closet, that little Tupperware thing. Oh, because of the mouse stitches. No. So she can't use any toys, can she?
Take two?
No!
What?
Yeah. And remember, you can't eat or drink like a half an hour afterwards. So take a bunch of water now. 2. I just pound a bunch of vitamin C too if you haven't. But you have to do that before or after. Well, take it with dinner because it's better to take it with food. Always take vitamins with food or else they'll go right through you and they won't be absorbed by anything. You each have your own bathroom in the new house. Yeah, it's weird. Don't get excited though, because the bathrooms we do have are like, how big is your bathroom? Like 4x3?
It's like the size of a stall.
Yeah, it is.
Like 2 stalls, I guess.
No.
It's like a
They're
stall
small
and a half.
bathrooms. Like,
A stall and a half.
he doesn't have a counter in his, which would drive me crazy. I need that counter. And mine is just, like, it's just a shower and a counter.
Like it's a half bathroom.
Yours is? Yours is a powder room. Mine's a half bath, I think.
No, because you half bath means that it's just a toilet and a sink.
No, that's a powder room. I've watched enough Love It or List It to know.
No, but when you see it on a listing, they say 1.5 bathrooms.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what that means.
Look it up. I don't believe that because that's not what I've seen in the things. Anyway, so have our own bathroom. I would almost like to combine them to have a nice bathroom, a big one, but apparently the house is actually meant for people to entertain because one of the bathrooms is hooked up to a room, which I think is the master bedroom. So that's the ensuite. And then the powder room, or the water closet, as it's also, I think, called. Because you might have to look up water closet.
It is a powder room, but it is technically
A half
speaking,
bath?
a half bath.
What? Do you just want pets? Honey, what's
'Cause
wrong?
You're talking, but you're not talking to her.
I'm talking to you. Shay, you can't do that. Oh my god. You guys you're making so much noise. Like this keeps going in the red. I'm sorry. Hey,
Let's go.
go get a life.
Come here.
Go with Papa.
Honey, come on. You want
Sorry
something?
for the loudness, y'all. My ears fell. I know, Gabe dropped his phone and the dogs started being loud, so. Do I have other costumes? DHT, why do you want to know that? You know this is like my persona, you know? So, I mean, I do have other costumes, but they're, you know, I don't know. I don't exactly know what you mean, but I'm also curious why you want to know that. It's a little creepy. So there are different kinds of bathrooms. I've watched tons of home improvement shows. So it seems like powder room, water closet, and a half bath are all just a smaller bathroom that has a toilet and a sink. Those three things usually mean that. Okay? And then an ensuite is usually a bathroom that's connected to a bedroom. And usually it's the master bedroom's bathroom. I mean, do you own other on-stream cosplay? Do you own other on-stream cosplay? I mean, I dress up for like Christmas and stuff. Do you mean other than an elf, DHT? I don't really understand your question. Alright, let's go to doing... Like, I'm not going to dress up as a popular character, if that's what you're asking. I basically have begun to hate anything pop culture. Going to conventions, I think, has really destroyed that in me. I really hate it. I've really now grown accustomed to loving things that are not mainstream or things that are very plain, you know, stuff like that. I don't know, things that are just... Like, how many people need an R2-D2 something or other? You know, things like that. It's like, why have we gotten to this point where people need a million of one thing? You know, of this one brand, of this one character, of this... Like, why do you need that? Think about the next time you buy something that's like Deadpool or Batman or whatever you're into. Why are you into that? Are you trying to hinge who you are on someone else's character? Instead, try to make your own character. You know, try to just be happy in your own skin and that you don't need to look like something else. Oh, original? No, not yet, DHT. So I was thinking about, at some point I'll either get too old to be dressing like an elf, where I either adapt my elf cosplay to be drooping ears and to be an elderly elf, or be a moth lady, which I have that outfit to be a moth lady, but I feel like that's a lot harder for people to kind of grasp, especially in a convention setting, you know. Ah, I gotcha, James. Fan art of my art. I'm okay with that, actually, Kitchen. If they do fan art of my art, they give me credit. It's out of love. I love that they do that. I actually encourage people to do Cloverkin fan art, too. I love it. I love fan art. I don't love people selling fan art. Please know that there's two different things there. I think fan art's great when it's done out of love, but when people start wanting money for it, it's not good anymore. It's not from a place of love because you're asking for comeuppance for what you've done, you know. But yeah, if you're doing it because you want to draw me or something, that's great. I actually wanted to start a little tag for everybody that's done it. I know you know it, Kitchen. Just for the people that don't know it. Oh, interesting, James. Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay. Should probably do the chair. Haven't done the chair yet. So, a bunch of you probably already know this, but I do the white colored pencil first before I bring in the pastels. Now normally I wouldn't just use the white colored pencil and leave it at that, okay? Because a lot of things in nature and just that occur aren't just white, right? Usually when something's really bright or when light is cast on something, it is not white. In fact, most of the time when that happens, it's going to be a brighter, more saturated version of that color. So what I'll do here is on the parts that are actually a lighter red, you know, that I've put this white, what that's doing is making a little foundation that I can put the next color that I want to on it to make it brighter. It helps separate it so it doesn't just sit on this darkness. So, example, I'm gonna pick a warmer red because this is kind of a cooler red, right? Okay, so you see all these white spots? That rarely happens, and it's very dependent on the material. So the most it happens, honestly, is probably on things like silk. Silk or plastic are going to have actual white spots on them, right? So if you look at silk and where it changes direction and where there are folds and things, usually there's a slight bit of white on it where it's a hot spot, right? Because of the fibers in there actually reflecting it back. But on majority of other materials, that white isn't like that, or there isn't any white. So what I do here is do this, which is kind of cool because it acts almost like a screen layer in Photoshop. So it kept my white line that I put here, but then it just bumps up the red. So the values are there, and then I just basically overlay it with this other red, this warmer red. And it works out pretty cool. This took me so long to figure out too. I figured this out on my own. I didn't like watch any things about it or anything like that. I just played with the mediums I really enjoyed until I found something that worked for me, which I highly suggest everybody try. I mean, you know, find mediums that work for you, and maybe once in a while try to mix them and see what actually, you know, if any of them work well together. Because you might figure out something that's very you, you know, and some kind of style or look that people actually really enjoy. What's everybody up to right now? Is anybody drawing with me? I always like to hope that people are drawing along with me and using this time as their time of day to draw. If no other time, draw now. Drawing bees! Yay! Bees are my favorite thing to draw. Not my favorite thing, but they're one of them. Actually, for those who are on my Patreon, you're going to be seeing some bees with the next mythical guardian I send out here. There's a little story with bees included in it. So, and see how that stays there? All that white stays there and just pops out this red. So it really helps because here you can see how desaturated this is as opposed to how saturated that is. Oops, I knew that. Hey Muffins! 110 expressions. Damn, guys, good job. Yeah, honestly, 110 is still more than 109. 109 is still better than 0, right? So you've done amazing. 300 is a huge one to shoot for. So I mean, 110 is still 110 more than someone else has done, than I've maybe done lately. I haven't done any expression work specifically, but that's great. Wubbles, I saw your ink portraits. Those look great too. You guys are doing awesome. Creech, are you trying to say goodbye, or were you just saying that for the heck of it? I can't tell. Oh, also, for those that don't know, on my Patreon, and this is still going on until April 1st, you can still get this on my, what is it? My Curious Collector tier. It's $6. You get 2 buttons and a lore scroll, I've been calling them. So this month it's a clover pip. And pips are these little creatures I've made up that they're kind of, they've got their own lore to them. They're not, I don't like to say they're fae. I'm kind of over the word fae, really, to describe things. So I'm not going to call them fae, but someone else would. I'll just say that. But if you would like to get this button and to learn the story behind them and what they mean to nature, what they do, a day in the life of a pip, a clover pip specifically, you can still sign up for these for this month. I've changed my Patreon to actually be, if you sign up at any point in a month, you can still get that month's thing. You don't have to sign up at the beginning of the month to get it. You can at any point. So it's a lot nicer. For now. For now, Patreon's alright for me, but yeah. Yep, there you go, Gus. You got it. Chair is comfy. You know what you could do, Creech? Just tip over in your chair and out of it, and then you'll be in pain. It'll wake you up. And you'll be out of the chair. It might work. Depends on how badly you want to get up and how much you can't get up, I guess. Oh, also, I'll explain in a minute here. I've actually just run out of fingers. I'll explain what that means in a minute. Let me just finish this area. Okay, so when working with pastels, you want to make sure your hands are clean. Okay, and not only clean once, but clean multiple times. So typically when I'm doing pastel work, and I forgot to do it this time, but I have a sponge and I have this little container, and I usually fill the container up with some water, and I put the sponge in, and I have the sponge soak up the water, and then I flip it over so that the damp side is exposed. And if you look at my fingers here, each finger is used for a different color. I used to use blender sticks, but for many reasons I stopped. A, they're expensive. B, the cheap ones are super cheap and they suck. But the main reason I can't use them is the feeling. It has the nails on the chalkboard feeling to me. Like, I can't do it. So I use my fingers, but they're clean. Like, soap clean when you first start. And then throughout the time, you just take your fingers and you rub them on the wet sponge, and then you dry them on a thing, and then go from there. So I actually have to do that before I forget. And I have to get a napkin, so give me a minute. Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay. So. Ooh. Now it's full of water. I don't know if you can see that. Wee. Little swimming sponge. So I just push down on it, and this is a terrible feeling too, honestly, but it's the better of the evils. So now I just rub them on a paper towel. And I have semi-clean fingers. So that's just so you don't start mixing your colors. So then, you know, if you do end up switching colors, you can do a whole new set of colors. Okay, so let's see. I guess I could start doing the gold. Or I could do the white. Actually, maybe I should do the white. I'm gonna do the white. So, with these portraits, I usually do this one phase in the portraiture where I outline it in white. Hold on, I just noticed this needed a speck highlight. I outline it in white, and I only do this for portraits. I would not suggest doing this for any sort of serious illustration or, you know, get into this mindset of doing it for every piece, it's not, it's honestly a big cop-out when it comes to trying to separate your foreground from your background. I know some people who do it as kind of a graphical touch, and I mean, you can do that. It's more of a tattoo style, but, and what I'm talking about is if you, like, look here. So if I go along the whole figure in white, just to like separate it from that background. I only do it for these portraits because they are portraits. They're not really, you know, a scene or anything. It's fine for that. You know, it helps the figure stand out. But like I said, I would not recommend doing this for anything other than that. Like when I'm doing my stories or doing any of my panel work or illustrations for a story, you just don't want to do that. Otherwise, like, what's going to happen is if you have everything in the foreground and it's all outlined in white, A, it's going to look like it's floating. B, your piece is going to feel less cohesive because you have all these things that are just kind of called out, you know? So it's going to look really disjointed in a lot of senses. And it will look kind of almost like a game. You know how some things have like outlines around them in a game, and it's like, well, this is a thing you can touch. And this is probably coming from my background in games, but every time I see something kind of outlined like that, I think that immediately, like, oh, I can touch that thing, or oh, that thing's interactable, you know, or interactive. It's hard not to think that when you see something fully outlined, so I would almost say don't use it unless you know why and when to use it. Don't just use it willy-nilly, because like I said, it's actually a really bad habit to get into. Because then when you're actually forced to do a scene, you can't, because you don't know how. Because you've never actually set things down in place. I know a lot of people who do floating creatures and floating people too. Make sure every once in a while you're at least grounding things. You know, draw a picture or a portrait of somebody actually sitting on something, or holding something, or interacting with another person. You know, these are all really good exercises to keep, you know, yourself strong with, because you have to know how to have, you know, a character interacting with things. Hi, NHL fan, how you doing? Oh, funny Creech. How you been, NHL fan? It's been a while, I haven't seen you for a bit. But like, here's an instance where I'm actually having them pop in the foreground, because this line is actually the horizon line where the actual ground is. So because I want them to not get lost in the background and to actually, you know, speak louder, technically, I'm popping them out. And like I said, that's only in certain circumstances. I would not do this for every single piece. You have to know why you're doing it. Does anybody have any fun plans coming up? I know April Fool's is coming up. Does anybody actually do anything for that? Like, is anybody here big on pranks? I worked with a guy who was really big on pranks. Like, he looked forward to every April Fool's Day, like, hardcore. He was basically a master prankster, too. Though one year I did get him, we did the thing where we put an air horn underneath his chair, and we raised it all the way up, so when he sat down, he had to lower it, and he lowered it onto the air horn. He got his. That was a pretty good one. That's my only, like, prank claim to fame that I've really done. Otherwise, I usually don't like to inconvenience people too much. There was this other time, though, this one I feel kind of bad about. He needed help setting some stuff up for a prank that he was doing on a girl that was in the office. She was scared to death of birds, okay? And he put a stereo in her office, I think with Bluetooth also behind her. And like when it was quiet and nothing was happening, he played the sound of an eagle, you know, one of those ones where it's like, oh! Like really loud, like a screech. Scared the hell out of the poor thing, and she ran out of the office. It's really funny, but at the same time, I felt really bad for her because she was like seriously afraid of birds. Not only that, but she was really aggressive towards birds. Like, you know how sometimes birds build nests in parking ramps and things? Well, the ones that were built in the parking lot that we had, she's like, oh, I just want to take them and I just want to smash them on the ground. And I was like, dude, you can't just do that. Yeah, you're afraid of the birds, but this, you know, we're outside. This is where they live. You can't just do that. So she's a little bit crazy about that. It's like, you know, you can't just start hurting or killing animals just because you don't like it. It's crazy. Anyway. I gave a carved foam tree bark sample on a fake foam rock to my foam supplier. When the mobile project, they started making me dream rock from a full-size carved foam tree for their entryway. Oh, that's cool, Creech. Good for you. That should be fun. Oh, bye, Kitchen. I hope it's easy getting her back, and I hope she's okay. You'll do great. Right, James? That's what I told her. I'm like, usually that's illegal. You can't really just kill birds. I mean, and just normal birds, you know? But she was just, she hated, God, she hated them. It was so weird. Hold on, I'm cold. I am cold. We're at that in-between start of spring where like the daytime you can have all the windows open and stuff, but nighttime it still gets really cold. So they will peck the crap out of you. Technically, yeah. It's true, Creech, but if I ever saw her try to kill a bird, I would be very, very upset. Have you guys ever fallen for a really good April Fool's prank? Or pulled one off, rather? Either way. If you've been the victim or the pranker or the pranky, let me know. I'm curious. Alright. Still haven't done this horn. I almost forgot the horn. And that is a very different yellow. It's almost a comical yellow. Alright, let's see. I think I'm actually going to do this color this way. This is more of an industrial yellow, which speaks well to furniture. So I'm actually going to redo the yellow parts of the chair with this. The yellow that I picked out earlier was a bit too close to her outfit yellow. Now, all these empty spots you might see throughout here, we're gonna actually go in and do the gold now. Gotta make sure the thing's not like blowing my face out. True. True. Oh, now I gotta find my gold. Oh, that was easy this time. Alright. I always use this side over here to actually test things, so. And I'll go back in a little while and outline this gold area again. I just gotta wait till this gold dries. And then I can actually go over it again and actually put lines into it, which I enjoy that about this gold. Not all gold can you do that with. But jelly rolls are pretty good in that sense. Really versatile, honestly. Because sometimes when you're doing this, the lines disappear. So you gotta go back and bring them forward again. Oh, and see, I forgot to do the red pop up here. Totally forgot. You can see kind of what that does there. It's pretty nice. I like to offer this to people. It seems like they really enjoy the gold aspect. Go to here too. Just gotta make sure not to get carried away. When I first did this, I would do a lot of things in gold, and I had to make sure that, you know, eventually it was just, you know, kind of a special area thing. Otherwise you could do too much, so. Oh no, James, it's great. She damaged the computer? So like she punched it? Oh man. I mean, if she's got a temper or something, I almost want to say she deserves to have to pay for that. But, because if it's one of those things like when people get so mad they throw like a game controller, it's like, come on bro. If you're this much of an angry person, you deserve to pay for that. You should really chill out. Also, if anybody like notices something's off and it's April Fool's and you're like not even thinking about that yet, come on. You should know. You should know better. If something's going wrong on April Fool's, someone probably did that to you. Especially if you work in a workplace. You know, you should be like, alright, who's doing this thing? And then usually people come forward, but they just want that initial reaction. The fact that lady didn't, like... I mean, I'm assuming it was on April Fool's, James. Oh, she thought she damaged it. Oh, I thought you said she got so mad she damaged it. I was like, well, lady, come on. I know it looks weird, but this cat actually has like a bisected face. It's one of those cats that you'd see, I think there have been a couple different articles about them. They have like 2 different colors on their faces. It's because like the embryo or the zygote or some crap split, and it split like 2 different I guess, things. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like two different cats, that sort of thing. Yeah, 2 sets of DNA. There you go. You get what I'm saying. You're picking up what I'm throwing down. So that's one of those instances, like I mentioned earlier, where if I draw it a certain way and someone's like, "Did you draw that right?" It's like, "Yeah, that's what the cat looked like. I'm sorry, it's a weird cat," you know? I think she's pretty, but it is one of those things where it's like you kind of double guess that that's what the cat looked like. It's like, really? They had 2 different faces? Yeah, basically. Oh, cute Mayfox. Ugh. I'm looking at the comments and the fact somebody already tried to spam you. How cute the rodents are? What rodents? Oh, these guys. Oh, thank you. I mean, they are cute cat toys, so I just kind of drew them, but animate. It gets to be a fine line in some of these when, like, the owners want some kind of death or impending doom for something in one of these pieces. I have to usually ask them, okay, are you okay with gore? Would you like me to do this more, you know, alluding to the fact it's gonna die? Or, you know, do you want it blatant? Because some people really like gore. And they're like, oh yeah, my cat would just beat the shit out of that thing, for sure. Other people want it more tasteful, since it is a portrait, you know. They don't want it to be kitschy or anything like that, so they do ask for it to be more tasteful, like this one. Which I'm fine with doing either, honestly. I think I've only done one really gory one ever. I can't remember what it was, honestly. Also, if I'm off screen, let me know. I keep doing this, sorry. It's a big piece, so it's really hard to keep them on screen. A portrait. Aha! Aha. Good one. back up here. Can you see it? Okay, good. Sometimes it's hard to do this part too because you can't exactly see the gold coming out. Sometimes you can, but like right now it's in the shadow, so I have to pay pretty close attention to see if it's actually coming out. I've actually had it with some of these pens where the pigment won't come out, but the like filler liquid will. It's interesting. It's like it's shooting blanks, technically. It's basically the exact same thing. Something's coming out, but it doesn't have any substance, you know? Looking over it, seeing if I missed any spots. I think I will put some trim on the dress. Usually like to accentuate that. And maybe I'll move over to GOZER. We'll do GOZER's portrait. The blanket one won't, the healer won't be very interesting, I think, for you guys to watch because it's going to be a lot of the same colors. So I'll kind of skip that one for the moment. Okay. Hey, Moof. Super seriously, those few months my artist friends are telling me my work is apparently good enough to sell. I don't even know where to begin though. Any advice? Yeah. Honestly, the best way to figure it out for yourself is to just start selling them. So what I would do is, do you know how already to edit your photos and to use Photoshop with them? Because if you do plan on trying to make prints to sell, you're gonna need to know how to do that. Oh, good, May Fox. I'm glad you like that. So I would say the next step is two things. I would get into Etsy just because it's a really good starting store. I know so many people have a problem with it right now. Honestly, it still does great for me, and I sell expensive things and I sell not very expensive things, and I think that the cut that they take is fair, mainly because a couple of reasons. One, they're a really well-known marketplace. They're probably the most well-known marketplace to go to get handcrafted goods. If you can name something that's more popular than Etsy for that sort of thing, I'd like to know what it is. So you're getting that kind of exposure using Etsy. So I think that in itself is worth the money they take. But also, people are already used to it. They're used to the UI. They know how to navigate it. They trust it. Okay? That's the main problem when you have your own storefront. Unless something else about you says trustworthy, maybe you have a cohesive brand, or you just seem nice, they've met you in person maybe, and they trust you. Honestly, Etsy is at least trustworthy. Okay? Regular consumers trust Etsy. If they see your website storefront, like if I had cloverkin.com/store, yeah, some people would be okay with that, but other people wouldn't buy things off it just because they're afraid that maybe I don't have the best security on my website. Things like that. So that's another reason people trust Etsy, is it's got that sort of, security to it. And I like Etsy for that reason too, being a seller, that there's protection there, that if I was selling it on my own website, I wouldn't have that kind of protection. Okay? Not only that, but at the end of every year, they do give you a tax readout too, which I don't like to keep track of that stuff myself. So the fact that Etsy's just like, here's a form, here's what happened, here's, what you'll need. I'm like, cool, thank you. So for all the people that really complain about the cut that Etsy takes, honestly, I'm okay with it. They did make huge mistakes, but honestly, it's one of those things. It's like the same reason. No, actually, they do provide traffic. That was another thing I was going to bring up. So their ad system is actually pretty reliable. I've used their ads before and their marketing system, and it's better than what you could do for your own website. And this is what I'm saying. So since Etsy is known to people, people go there to buy certain things, that's already traffic. Your website/store doesn't have that traffic on its own. So you might get impulse buys randomly, which a lot of people have that, from me, and I'm thankful for that. But you can also bump yourself into people's eyes better by using their ad system, as well as Facebook and Instagrams. As a sort of side note and an experiment that I conducted, I spent probably $50 on ads on Instagram recently to see how much that affects things. I ended up getting 60 new follows just by putting money into my profile, which makes me really sad that Instagram has gotten to the point where you gotta pay to win. It's almost like a mobile game. So anyway, so Muffins, yeah, I would definitely start off with an Etsy. Just because it's easy for you as a seller to start with, it's easy for people to find you. Just ignore what people are saying about the other stuff, because honestly, everything has privacy problems. Everything has been breached one way or another. Fuck it, we don't live in that sort of world where privacy is a thing, and if you think it is, you're naive. Okay, you've been busted one way or another, whether you know it or not. So, with that said, you have to play the game to be a part of the game, right? So you have to get an Etsy. Hey, Kristen, what's up? Yeah, and May Fox is right. They're going to ask you right away if you have an Etsy store. Keyboard stuck in Jello. I've never seen someone actually do that, James, so props. That's pretty cool. But then, Muffins, you're also going to need to get the prints done. Now, I really trust Cat Print with my prints. I exclusively use them. They're great. Their quality's fantastic. Their shipping's fantastic. There's nothing I find wrong with them. Their customer service is wonderful. Anytime they've accidentally screwed up, which hasn't been often, and honestly, it's usually our fault. Like the way we flip something on a backside or something like that, they are so good about getting us something new. So, yeah, so I was getting to that, Muffin. So I would use Cat Print for your prints. I would just start off with prints. Don't go down the road of making totes and mugs and all that sort of kitschy merchandise shit. Don't do that. Don't do that. Society 6, Redbubble, any of those kind of sites, they're terrible. Honestly, their pricing is fucked up. It's really bad. You're never getting any money. No one's going to buy a $30 mug, which is how much it would need to be for you to actually make a profit from it. Don't even do that crap. Don't make keychains. Don't do any of that right away. Stay simple, stay cohesive, and just make start off with, say, 6 prints. Maybe 8 by 10 prints. Stick to frame sizes, especially since you're doing photography. So 4 by 6, 5 by 7, 8 by 10, 11 by 14. I forget the next one up. It's 12 by something. But look at actual frame sizes, right? Standard frame sizes. Google that. Try to make your photos fit for that, because most people are going to frame your photos, So there's that. Walmart on me. Okay. It could, James. Yeah, I mean, it never hurts to honestly try. But here's the mistake a lot of people make, right? When it comes to internet anything, they'll make something, they'll get really excited about it, they'll put it up on the internet and sit back, and if nothing happens, they think they failed. Okay? That's not how internet works. Okay? If you want to be an artist and you want to make an internet presence of any kind, it does take work. And it's going to take some money nowadays to actually get some marketing in there. You have to actually pay for it. And this is just normal, and it has been for a long time. When I was doing mobile games, when we'd release a game, just to market it, you needed to put in money to get money, right? It's just part of expenses, similar to if you're making prints. Prints cost money, but then you sell them for more so that you get that money back. It's similar to that. You need to kind of budget in a marketing amount for it. So don't just think, oh, I'll do great and put it out there. Honestly, it's so hard to get seen at all on the internet as an artist. So you really need to either post all the time, okay, be paying to get your ads out there, or to know people, and to just have your finger in all the pots and be in all the places you can. It's really a tough grind. Some people get really lucky and they hit the viral train. And this is why you see a lot of people, and this is terrible, but when a celebrity dies, if you see someone do a portrait of that celebrity within that week, just to cash in on that hashtag to get seen, don't give them a follow or anything, because that's super low. That's a bad moral choice, okay? And they're doing it just for likes and follows. All right? They may claim, oh, I loved him and I really wanted to do something to commemorate it. No. Okay, you're doing this from a bad place. And it's pretty obvious you're trying to cash in on someone's death, right? So same thing with if a game comes out and suddenly tons of fan art, right? All those people are trying to cash in on that game that just came out, right? So I don't touch that. I think that's a moral thing. You do that too much and you're just going to be empty inside. So when you do this sort of stuff, you have to make sure that, if you're posting a lot, I would make sure, especially James, since you do a lot of oils and stuff, you could be posting a work in progress. You work pretty fast too, from what I've seen. So maybe you could even be doing 2 whips a day. Just be posting every day once at least. And then you'll start generating that traffic, and then more people are going to see it either in its entirety at the end or in various different phases, right? And that'll get them hyped up for the end. And then you tell them where they can go buy it, right? And the smartest thing you can do is actually be posting it after it's done and the prints are already ready, okay? So let's say this was a print, right? Let's say I was making this. I would not be doing whips of it now as I'm making it. I would be doing this maybe in a week or 2 after I've already gotten prints made. So timing is very important, because then I would do maybe Tuesday, pencils, Wednesday, flats, Thursday, render, Friday, final. And then post, hey, you can go get these here. So it's already prepared for people to purchase. That makes it easy for them too, so they don't forget that they liked it. It's just good timing, right? Thanks, Creech. Yeah, so Muffins, at least it would look bad on merch. It's I just have to tell artists that, because a lot of people get really excited. Oh, my art on a bag. Oh, my art on this. Oh, my art on that. It just ends up degrading your art and making it look cheap. Example, I would never sell this. You guys might think it's cool, but I would never sell this. This is my art on a mouse pad. This is for me. This is just for me. This isn't for anyone else. And I'm okay with that. That kind of thing is for me and my, I don't know. It's personal, but I would never sell that, because that feels cheap. That feels like it's cheapening my work. Unless you are going for that. If you want to specifically make art for products, that's a different story. I just wouldn't say take your art and put it on there unless you had made it for it. Does that make sense? You don't just want to whore it out to all these other different kinds of product. Because it may not fit it in terms of what it is or what its purpose is, but it just makes it look weird. I don't know. So, and then Thank you, Muffins. That makes me feel really good. And then for shipping them to people, here's what I would use. So I'm trying to take you through the whole process of making the prints, selling the prints, shipping the prints. So if anybody is going to be shipping anything, I highly suggest things called photo or document mailers. Now they're waterproof and they come with corrugated inserts, which until you start selling a lot of things, you won't need to buy these in bulk. You can just buy them at, you know, like Office Depot or something. But you want to make sure whatever you use, it's rigid and sturdy and it's also waterproof. And so for a certain, like for these, I don't use these. I use actually a box with inserts in it and lots of peanuts and stuff. Like since this is over $100 by a lot, I make sure I take the extra care to make sure it's fine. So if it gets dented on any side of the box, the art in the middle is still fine. It's suspended in the middle. However, for anything that's under $100, so when I sell prints, I use these. And these come in various other sizes too. These are 11 by 13, which is a weird size. So if you want something other than this size, you'll have to look it up. But you can totally use these, and I really highly suggest you do. No, post more often is better than posting less often, okay? The more you can get in front of people's faces, the better. They're going to remember you, they're going to recognize you, they're going to be familiar with you, which is the most important thing when it comes to the internet. You want to be memorable. And it's cutthroat, okay? The main thing I hear is, well, I don't want to be spamming people. You have to, okay? And what you think is spam isn't spam to anyone else normally, okay? Like you could post 5 times a day and one person will see it once, right? Maybe a couple people would see 2 posts. It's highly doubtful though, because people are like super active at different times a day. So you can spam a lot and still not be spamming, right? You just feel like you are because of how many times you're posting. Don't worry about it. Really, it's better to spam or to, you know, feel like you're spamming than to not do it enough, okay? Because otherwise, if you're not trying to get that in front of someone's face, you're just throwing it into the abyss. Wouldn't you rather it hit more people, you know? And the other thing too, Muffins, is you're gonna have some that don't sell well. You're gonna have some pieces that you love to death, but people don't like at all. And then you're gonna have the opposite, pieces you don't like and other people love. So you're gonna have to feel that out, and it's gonna be a lot of trial and error. Now, unlike my Etsy, I have a bunch of prints people can buy, but when I go to a convention, I only bring the ones I know people buy. Once in a while, if I have a new print debuting, I'll bring it to a con to try it out. And if, you know, then I test the water, see how it does against my best sellers. And if it doesn't hold it up enough, and I take it to maybe 3 cons, usually 3 is like my max with trying something out, and it still doesn't do well, I take it off of my convention circuit and I put it up on my online store. Because just because those people didn't like it, or didn't want it, or couldn't buy it, some people can't buy things, even though they like them, they just don't have any money. Put it up on the store and have it always available because somebody's gonna want it there, right? So there's so much to this, and it is kind of a grind. So if you have nothing else going on and you want to go head first into this, do it, because it's gonna demand your attention. Well, you're welcome, Muffins. Okay, so May Fox and James, the posting time, that's gonna vary on a million different things. So yeah, you can say 5 o'clock and just throw out a number. No, that's not how it works. It depends on where you live, okay? It depends on what the season is, even what day it is. Because weekends, I usually don't post on weekends. Weekends suck, okay? If I post something on the weekend, it's just to keep posting, and it's probably not what I consider my best work. However, my best posting time usually on the weekdays is 8 p.m. I'm in a central time zone, okay? So you need to also consider time zones if you want to get crazy about this. So I'm in central, so that means Eastern it's 9, Mountain it's 7, and then Pacific it's 6. So that's all a really good time, right? That's between everyone's kind of in between. So not only that, but if you are serious about this sort of stuff, you're going to want to change your Instagram to be a business profile. All right, and I say that for this reason. You can actually get analytics based on your posts and things. It'll tell you where your best activity is, what days, what times, what genders, what locations, all that sort of stuff. It'll tell you all these sorts of things. Top locations, cities, countries, men, women. So my demographic technically is mainly, I guess men and women. 25 to 34. All right? Here it's almost even, which is cool, honestly. And then it tells you best posting times here, okay? Like, it's crazy. So you want to switch it over to a business profile, because you're not going to get that on a personal. That's meant for more kids that are doing selfies and stuff. You could try a craft fair muffins, but you have to remember craft fairs are a lot of 3D work. It's a lot of jewelry, like sculpting, sometimes fabrics, textiles, things like that. So for you, craft fair may not be horrible, but I wouldn't expect anything good out of it. Honestly, I did an art fair and I did terrible. Awful. I do great at conventions. Very good at conventions. I maybe made $100 at the art fair. It sucked. It was awful. So I don't do art fairs. You might do really well in a gallery setting, like depending on the photos you take. So no, you don't. Okay, the 10K followers is just for the swipe up feature. That's all. Okay, the business account, you can do it any time. You could do it at like 100 followers, I think. It's just what kind of profile you do, unless they changed it. But as far as I know, it's just that, which one do you want? The swipe up feature is the one in like people's Insta stories. It's the only reason I want to get to 10K is to be able to have that. Because anytime you have to write out a link in Instagram, you're potentially losing sales. Okay? So having the swipe up feature is making it easier for people to purchase things from you. One of the main things I learned from doing mobile games is least amounts of clicks possible. Okay? You want to get somebody in the game to the thing in the least amount of clicks possible. So in this case, it's taps, right? You want someone to be able to get to your product ASAP. So with the swipe up feature, that would be really nice. So yeah, the swipe up comes with the 10K. And I would very much like that. But honestly, I don't care about followers and numbers. Honestly, don't ever let that make you feel like your art is reflective of how many likes and follows you have. It's not. They're not correlated at all, especially since so much of Instagram is bots. It's so full of bots. It's crazy. So, never judge yourself by how many people you have. Remember to just do your work for you, and if people like it, cool. If they don't, whatever. At least Instagram is a nice area to have to show that you're constantly creating work. Mind you, Instagram should not be like a portfolio, because that's not what it's meant for. But it is a good place to basically show off that, yeah, I'm creating content all the time. What? Think about it more like that. It's a bragging service, honestly. Yeah, you can. Yeah, the imposter syndrome thing is really interesting. Honestly, the way I think of imposter syndrome is if people like it, who cares how you feel about it? You know? Like, you should feel validated at that point. I don't get why you would doubt yourself if you're doing well. If you're doing well, that should be an indicator that people like what you're doing. And I mean, if you're not happy with it, switch it up, change it. Don't do it anymore the way you were doing it. You know, as long as you stay, I think, really humble and level-headed about how you're doing, you'll be fine. And honestly, in my opinion, there's no perk to being famous. Really, there's not. I mean, if you're in it for the money, I guess that's the only reason being famous could be cool. But really, if you've got like a little hardcore group of fans that always are like excited for your stuff to come out, doesn't that almost mean more? Like, I feel pretty cool that there are, you know, my patrons especially, the ones on my Curious Collector tier, I have the most, I think, respect for, because that tier is my heart. You know, that's where I'm actually creating new stuff and, you know, things that I want to do, and they're actively supporting me doing that. So, in my opinion, you know, that's where my respect for my fans truly is, because they know that's where the new stuff is. That's the womb, technically, you know. Which part, Wubbles? Which part? Like, I have a friend that he's at like over 160,000 people, and he showed me his like Instagram inbox once, and I was like, I want no part of that. None. Like, it was insane. He had all... The thing that drives me crazy is when I get the same question a million times. That's why I kind of thought about doing YouTube videos, because I could just send people a video every time they're like, oh yeah, so what do I do with this? He had the same question, and bless him, he's the type of person that has like the utmost patience, so he's fine with just saying the same thing over and over and over again. But I get irritated by that. That's just who I am. I just want to be like, you know, if you haven't heard me say it in the past, F it. That's why I made my fan art website, because I got sick of doing my 3-hour-long rant about it. So that's what happened with that. So I saw what he had to deal with, and I was like, you know, if that's what being like Instagram famous is, I want nothing to do with that. You know, I didn't want that at all. That just, it didn't sound appealing. And I mean, sometimes you're not even making more money, so it's like you're doing more work for less. And it's like, hell no. Hell no. And I'm glad you noticed that too, Wubbles. Like, for some people, it takes them too long to realize that. Yeah, fame should never be a goal. And, you know, if it happens, okay, hopefully you're prepped to deal with it. But otherwise, it's, I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, whenever somebody's like, I just want to be the best on Instagram, I'm like, why? What else are you trying to... It's always more of a, what are you trying to cover up, or why are you trying to fill a void with that? That's usually a sign of some sort of failing with themselves. You know, that they want that kind of recognition, or that fame is filling a problem that they have with themselves. So, you know, if that's you and you want to be famous for something, think about why. What is that going to do for you? You know, and have you thought about the flip side of it? What does it mean that you'll have to do once you get there? That sort of thing. Yeah, Wubbles, right? Hey, Paladin, how are you? Oh, Gabe got your figures. He freaked out, and I got to look at your actual detailing in them. They're beautiful. You do such good work. Seriously, I'm so glad we finally got something from you, because it's amazing. You do really great stuff. And they were shipped very nicely, too, so thank you. Yeah, Wubbles, right? It's that whole thing of, do you want a few friends who are just good quality, or do you want the numbers without the quality? It's quantity or quality. You have to choose one. And I always choose quality over quantity. I mean, the only time I would choose quantity of any kind over something of quality is when you're learning to draw or learning anything. Like if you're learning to do music or learning to do carpentry, do more of that thing instead of focusing on the quality, or else you're going to slow down and you're not going to do as well. That's the only time I would say quantity over quality. Only time. There you go, Wubbles. Hey, Mighty May. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of a, I don't know, I'm going in and out with it. It's one of 3 I wanted to work on tonight, which actually I think I'm at a point to switch. So I think I might. Thank you for the reminder. We've been ranting a bit about Instagram and such. Yeah, I'm glad they did too, Paladin. They're great. You did such a good job. Yeah, and Muffins, as long as you can remember that you're doing it because you like to do it, and regardless if anybody else likes it or not, you're going to keep doing it, that's what matters, you know? And I've talked to a lot of people too, and, you know, people are always like, oh, how do I make it big? You know, how do I get published? How do I do this? Just do the work, and if it strikes a chord with somebody who sees it, and maybe they're a publisher, maybe they're not, that's how you get lucky. You put yourself in the opportunity to be lucky, which a lot of people just think it happens. You know, oh, somebody finds you on the internet and they're like, oh, hey, can you do this thing for me? It doesn't really happen like that. You have to put yourself in so many eyes to actually be able to have the opportunity for luck, right? So in my case, yeah, I could cold call and send out, you know, my self-published books to publishers, right? I could do that, and I could spend a lot of money and time doing that, and it would be a lot of money and time. But really, I could also just make the stuff I want to make, keep self-publishing my books, eventually have that plethora of all this stuff that I've worked on, and if somebody likes any of them, and they're like, hey, I want to publish this, it's like, cool, go for it. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, do the work, and it'll usually pay off. So Creech, I think it's good to have balance. Okay, so I have digital books, I have physical books. I'm one of those people that buys a lot of digital books because I don't like having physical books anymore, because they take up a lot of space. I moved a lot, and it sucks when you have a lot of books. So now I only buy PDFs and stuff. And a lot of other people are that way too. So it's good to have both. As somebody who's providing the product, you want to have things for different demographics, right? So when you can have the PDF or the physical copy, some people love having physical copies. That's for them. If you can have PDFs, fine. If you're in a spot though where you can't afford to make a physical product, always have the digital one. At least then you're making some passive income from it, right? No, that's okay, Jazz. Bye, Wubbles. Yeah, I'm glad you got to stay for a bit. Thank you so much for that. I hope you had a good time. Hey, Spongy. Welcome back. Yeah, you'll never be able to guess what people like. Honestly, Creech, it's one of those things like, you love it, but they might hate it. They love it, but you don't like it. it's whatever. So usually when I make something and I'm like, yeah, I'll try print of this, you really have to have an I don't care method to it, you know? You have to think about it like, I don't care, let's see how it does. You have to be optimistic about it, but not be too tied to it where it'll affect you, you know, too badly if it goes one way or the other. It's really good to have not an apathetic attitude, but just one where you're like, yeah, let's see what happens. That's the best attitude to have when you're trying out your art on stuff. Like, you know, prints. Yeah, let's see what happens, you know? The guidebooks? Guidebooks. Mayfox, what are you talking about? Guidebooks? How do you feel about limited edition prints versus... I think limited edition when it comes with prints is kind of silly anyway. Also, I don't know what open edition means. Is that just normal prints, like, that you can keep making? Is that just the official term for them? Honestly, I've never done limited edition just because I don't see a reason to. I'll tell you though, you have to be of a certain tier to be able to offer and do well with limited edition prints. If you're just Joe Schmo me, this guy, and I just put out like a limited edition print, it's not going to do well. You really have to be in demand, and I would say at that point you're probably over 20k followers on Instagram, somewhere around there, where you've actually got the pull to be able to, hey, new print, and people actually go seek it out. Right now, Gabe and I, if we say, awesome, new print up, nothing. It's really surprising when, you know, you think, you know, you're getting all excited, you're like, I'm gonna put up this print. You have to know that the internet is so crazy. And even at conventions, it's really hard to sell a limited edition print because a lot of people don't even trust it, you know, that it's limited edition. You have to look like you're almost a business, like a legit business selling prints of someone else's work for them to be limited edition. If you're selling your own, it's almost fishy. You know, that's like, well, why couldn't you just make more and just number more? Like, I have a friend who goes up to like 3rd edition prints and things like that, where basically then it's like open edition. So why are you even saying this, you know? He can move it, but he's also a really good salesman, which, you know, it's really up to you and what you think would work well with what you do. Just make sure you don't do any fan art, honestly. But yeah, when you do make prints, honestly, the way Gabe and I go about it, we just make a few. Usually if we make a new print, we'll do 20, like a run of 20. We'll make sure people know it's available, and usually we'll take it to a couple cons, sell a few, you know. I mean, it's not as in demand as you think it'd be. It's really crazy. Spongy, that's the perfect attitude. That's what you should do. Oh, Mayfox. Yeah, but it's over a long time. And that's why we've stopped buying books, because we have that. The only books I buy now are usually indie books from people, if I buy an actual physical book. Otherwise, if I can buy someone's art book online as a PDF, I will. Which, if you have a physical book, you should have a PDF of it as well. Yeah, never get caught up in popularity, you guys. You know, it's not going to do anything for you. Just picture yourself at your desk making your art and you're alone, right? Think of social media as these things up here, above you, right? And your head's down. Think about you keeping your head down and just making a new thing, throwing it up, making a new thing, throwing it up, and you never look up, okay? You never look to see how many follows there are, how many likes there are, how many anything is. Right? Maybe once a week go and look and respond back to people who are really nice. Delete the spam that's like, hey, check out my account. Bye. You know? So you should be thinking of it more like it is about you and just you. Because honestly, follows and likes and stuff, it's all math, it's all robots. If you think about it. So you can't trust it. So don't. Yeah. So Spongy, that's what we were telling people too. If you're gonna stream and you have one person watching, if that, and maybe it's a bot, you know, maybe it's Nightbot or whatever, who cares? You're gonna be drawing anyway, right? You might as well stream it. And if you end up liking it and getting a following and being kind of an entertainer at the same time, cool. It worked out. Some of my friends started streaming and they can't do it, and that's okay too. Some people can't, some people can. It's just whatever works for you, you know? Oh, run fairs. Yeah, see, I can't do run fairs. The overhead is too expensive. I don't like doing outdoor anything. That always did really poorly for me. And my stuff is, after doing so many conventions, it's more, I don't want to say commercial, but that seems to be the right word for it. It is more commercial and approachable and less high art. So if you have high art, you're going to want to do specific conventions. Like this weekend is Spectrum. Spectrum's in Kansas City. You might want to go for that, or a LuxCon, or there's a new one that's got light in the name. I think Bobby Chu runs it. I forget what it's called though. Lightbox? Maybe. Anyway, there are certain cons that have that higher tier access to it. I don't consider myself that, so I do better with just, you know, people walking by and being like, oh my god, I like that. Yeah, let's get, you know, where high art places, the people are going there specifically for that. So, there's that. Yeah, James, you can stream and not talk to people, totally. You don't even need a camera for your face if you don't want to. You will, however, get a better response. But you could make it your shtick that you don't have a camera or talking to people. You know, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Remember that. I mean, even if you don't want to do anatomy, you never have to do anatomy if you don't want to. People don't think about that. They think, oh, I need to do art, I need to do anatomy. No, you don't. You want to draw buildings? Go draw buildings. F it. But when it comes to, you know, streaming, do whatever works for you, you know? Well, there you go, May. Cons shouldn't scare you if you're already at that level. You might want to check out the art show at Dragon Con too. So Dragon Con has like 3 different areas you can go into, and I think it's still open too. You could still apply for this. They have an artist alley that I'm always going for because I fit well in the artist alley, but they also have an art show, which is that high tier end that you belong in. So you could totally go for that too. And that's set up more like a gallery, you know, people go through and buy pieces and stuff like that. So maybe check out Dragon Con's art show. Remember, that's the art show, not the artist alley. 2 different things. Yeah, what part of cons do scare you though, May? Because if you do well at high art and stuff, you'd be pretty good at cons too. It's kind of like the people doing high art can come down and do cons, but the people doing just cons can't really jump up to do the high art thing. Like, unfortunately, my stuff, for some reason, isn't, like, considered high art, so I'm like, whatever. I don't care. So, May, the nice thing about cons is, and I would still try one, maybe try a small, medium one, and then go up to, like, New York Comic Con and Emerald City and stuff. But in any case, doing a con is, you know, think about it this way. Here's your table, right? Here's other people's tables, if you're in the artist alley, right? And they're here, they're behind their table, you're here, they're here. Here's all the other people going through everything, and then you have people across from you too. You are nicely separated from the crowd. And usually you'll maybe have 1 or 2 stragglers that pull off from there to look at your stuff. So you're only interacting with a couple people at a time. So if you are afraid of crowds and stuff, usually it's pretty well mitigated by the fact you're behind a table. And I'm extra lucky, I think, because My table setup, I don't know if you've seen it, but I have it where I have my table, but then I have these two panels on either side of me and above me, kind of like a Stonehenge thing, and I'm in here. So at any point, if I'm just kind of overwhelmed or something, I just step to one of the sides and I'm kind of in my own cubby, you know? So there are ways to actually remove yourself while still being there. So you shouldn't worry too bad about that. I mean, unless it's like intense, you know? Yeah, galleries versus conventions, basically. So Spongy, Tim, Key, Pooey, those guys, they can do Spectrum, they can do those things, but then they can also do cons. For some reason, my stuff can't really do the high art thing, but I don't want it to, you know, either. I don't use oils. I think it's also the materials you use, how much time you spend on pieces. Gabe and I are more storytellers. We have more ideas we gotta get out quickly, and that's where I say we're more commercial, because we produce a lot, right? But the ideas are what it's about. Where high art and art that's made on a grander scale is either made with higher quality mediums, I feel like, takes sometimes hundreds of hours, things like that. But yeah, Spongy, you're way more of kind of a hippie when it comes to, you just go with the flow, you're doing whatever you do, and I think that fits more where Gabe and I are. You're just whatever you want to do. I've been pretty, like, a couple of the people that have been higher up have told me, you know, if you want to be up here, you have to make your style and your content more cohesive and adult. No. I like to work in a ton of different mediums. I like to do whatever I feel like doing. You know, my cohesiveness is my brand. When my art is on my booth, which is, you know, contained within like a tree, that's the cohesion, is the actual tree, right? And the fact they're all basically sepia tones. Okay, so when somebody tells you your work isn't cohesive, that's not true. Your work can be cohesive with like the fact all my stuff is in warm tones. That's its cohesive nature, right? So, exactly. So that's the difference. I think you knew the difference, you just wanted to kind of talk through it. Because yeah, some people just, I don't know. It's funny that high and low art still exist. And honestly, a lot of the people that do art for like Wizards of the Coast, you know, all the magic cards and stuff, they're technically kind of high art, but they're also digital. So it's not high art, but the technique sometimes is. So they can sometimes be thrown up there, but from what I've heard, Wizards pays crap. And like Magic, the way they actually gate what you can and can't do with your piece. Like if you make something for them, you can only sell like a certain number of prints at a certain size or something like that. Like they have rules. So yeah, it's all very interesting, I think. I mean, it's whatever you like too. There's nothing wrong with liking high art. And I think it's kind of funny, after going to Spectrum, after being, like Gabe and I tabled at Spectrum when we realized we're not supposed to be here. Like these are not the, it's like going to a school and seeing the people that are graduating and being like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then you get out of school quick and you go find something else that fits you better. That's basically what we did. We thought we wanted to be, and then we're like, no. Because we would much rather have like, here, think about this. Think about you as an artist, right? Think about sitting at a bare table, okay? Envision in front of you what your most proud thing you could possibly make would be. For Gabe and I, it would be stories and comics in front of us. Like all of our stories and comics we've thought of, with all of our characters going through their little lives and all these worlds, right? If I could just have a stack of all these different things that I have thought of, actually realized and on the table, that's what I want. For people that I think are in the high art sphere, it would be paintings, right? Illustrations, big canvases, things like that. And that's not what I wanted. And that's an important thing to actually visualize. Not necessarily, people always ask you, what do you want to do 5 to 10 years from now? That can be important, but as an artist, it doesn't really apply, I feel like, because we don't really work in the sense of that kind of time frame. So I would almost look at it more project-based. Think of a project in front of you, done. What is it? And, because that's going to actually tell you, what your pride and joy, where you should be putting your time. What is the most proud thing you could possibly make? The one thing that if you died, you'd be happy was made. Think about it that way. Like super heavy, right? And then having that kind of focus, I think, will help you figure out steps you need to take and where you need to go to gain that. I just don't think enough artists actually visualize stuff or take the steps to get there. And all the ones I know that say, oh, I want to do stories. Okay, have you written any? No. You better start. You're not just going to write one story and that's going to be the coup de grace and it's going to be perfect. That's not how stories work. You need to do a bunch of stories before you can actually do a good story. It does take so much work. That's why Gabe and I started Journey June, because we wanted all these people that had said they have all these stories to actually start doing stories. Because the thing is, they get so scared about actually going through the motions, and so we made this challenge so you could do it on a smaller scale, a less scary scale. Because a lot of people are also freaked that they're gonna screw up their main story and all this stuff, and it's like, okay, well, the whole point is to make a bunch of stories where you're not exactly tied to them so you can at least finish them, right? Hey, Fire Seal. Oh, that's great, Spongy. That's fantastic. Yeah, and I think because you've experienced Journey June, all the other ones are easy now, right? In comparison, I will say it's probably the hardest one out of all the monthly challenges that exist. I'll easily say that because it kind of goes against the grain of a lot of artists, and it's more work than they ever think it is if they've never really written a story before. It catches a lot of them off guard, and honestly, it weeds a lot of people out that like to say they have stories, and they don't. They have ideas, they don't have stories, okay? And until you actually start making stories, you still don't have a story. You have concepts, you have ideas. So I had a bunch of people, like we had almost close to 40 people that finished Journey June last year. And, that was incredible. First of all, I had no idea we'd have that many people finish. I thought maybe 2 would. But we had close to 40, so that caught me off guard. But I actually had people messaging me that were thanking me for that challenge because it showed them they actually don't want to do stories. And because now they don't want to do stories and they know they won't waste their time trying to. They'll put it into something else that they actually do want to do. And that's honestly the whole purpose of that, is to figure out if you really do want to do them, and if you like it and you like going through the process, awesome. That's your first notch in your belt, okay, that you've done that. The other people that are always saying they have stories and stuff, it takes them through to show them how much work it is, and if they don't want to do it, it shows them, hey, maybe you can't do this, and that's okay. Go find the thing you want to do, that you can do, okay? It's important. World building, in my opinion, doesn't exist. Every time somebody says, oh, I love world building, it's like, you don't know how to write a story. Every time they say that, it's like, oh, okay. I had someone I knew that was constantly world building, and all they were doing was thinking of the currency system, the like class system all the time. I'm like, all you're doing is making a cage to put characters in. That's not how storytelling works. Storytelling should revolve around a character or a group of characters. And when I say character, it doesn't even have to be like, it could be a table, right? A character can be anything. But the whole idea is to take that character and start having them go, okay? Every time we launch Journey June, I have this exercise I have people do, where it's how to visualize a character, how to actually start the story using that character, right? Because the whole idea is really just picture a crash test dummy sort of character and throw shit at it, right? Design a character, okay, let's say this was my character, right? If I start throwing situations at it, scenarios, it starts raining, how does this character react to that? Knowing how they look hard, they look like the rain wouldn't bother them, they'd stand there like looking really agitated or irritated at it. They wouldn't try to cover themselves and run for cover. This guy would just stand there, right? That tells you about that character. Then in turn, that tells you about the world. The characters themselves will build the world. You don't have to. If you make good characters, they'll build it for you. No, James, I have never read that, but I'm going to tell you straight up, they didn't world build first. I will tell you that whatever they did and whatever world they have was made by the characters they created. Okay? Seriously. World building, the idea that doesn't exist on its own, everybody's been using that incorrectly. Okay? The world is built on the characters, and the characters build the world. Whenever you build a world first and you try to put characters in it, the characters will always be dead. They won't have room to move. They'll all be very similar. They won't have very much flair to them. You know, they won't have different personalities as much as they could if they were there first and then the world evolved around them. You know, that sort of thing. It's so hard to explain to people. Because like I said, there are people that think world building is this standalone thing where you go and you're like, all right, there's a planet and it's got geysers and it's got fissures and, you know, people built stuff around it and blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't you rather build one of those characters first and be like, oh, and maybe their house is by a fissure that's by a geyser, so they have to dress this way. And, you know, so that kind of stuff is all intertwined. World building doesn't happen on its own. It needs characters. People are always doing it separate, and I don't get that. It doesn't compute with me. That's fantastic, Spongy. And that's another thing. I could see Journey June being very good just as an exercise for illustrators who maybe have problems seeing stories in illustrations. Like when people just draw a character with a flower and they're like, okay. So what? Where's the story? It's just a portrait. Like, if you want to start injecting your pieces with story, here's a character. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? The who, what, when, where, why, how? Put that in there. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of just a dead piece. And I get so irritated with pieces that are dead. It's true. And I think there have only been very rare instances where there's been a good story that's written from the environment's perspective. And that is so delicate. Because then, obviously, the environment is a character. So you have to balance this world as this character, but still being the world. It's very, like I said, delicate. I think it could very easily fall apart at any time, if done poorly. Sorry to get all high and mighty about that stuff, but really it's the same kind of agitation I feel when people say, I want to be a character designer for games. And I'm like, do you even know what you're talking about? Do you even know what that means? Like, it drives me nuts. This is why I also wouldn't be a good famous person, because I get too angry at things that are dumb. You know, it's like there's more to it than that. And people just take things for granted too often, and it's very aggravating. So, yeah, basically, James, it's the same sort of thing where it's so delicate that, like I said, if done poorly, it could really screw things up. I'm trying to think of an example too. I can't. My brain is fucking mush right now. But I think you know what I'm getting at. I'm gonna be a gossip nervous fire seal. I love you. Fire seal, were you gonna try Journey June, or were you not really interested in that? I forget. I think you had mentioned it last year, but you got, I think, too busy. Because I would love to see a story with your guys, but I think, were you one of the ones that was like, you know, I don't really care about doing stories, and I feel like that was you. And that's totally fine. It's totally fine. I just don't want to misremember anything. So let me know if I'm wrong. It is important to talk about. It's one of those things where somewhere along the line it got like miscommunicated and blown out of proportion, and then all of a sudden it was its own thing. Like a lot of the things I've done where I've gone back and talked to students about games and being in the gaming industry, they all think that concept art is basically that one character they found on Pinterest, and I'm like, no, you have to draw hundreds of characters, you know, and be okay with throwing away those designs. You have to be okay with someone else picking the designs and then you doing 100 more designs off those designs they narrowed down, and the whole time being able to make very different designs, very unique designs, and be okay with all them going out the window. And they're like, what? No, there's this one thing that I'm like, no, okay, art books that show, you know, the final designs, those are the final designs after hundreds of others, and they don't understand that, and it's really hard to tell, you know, kids who are already in college to do this stuff, hey, what you thought here was wrong. And it's tough. Oh, totally, Fire Seal. If you do it all, do it the most simple you possibly can. You know, we were telling people, do not do something crazy. Like, have your character go to the fridge and come back and do that in a month. You know, be simple first. Don't go crazy because you're going to fail. Oh, wow. Really, Spongy? That's crazy. Is that explain that's what you're doing as a project somewhere? I had no idea you were doing this. That's cool. I feel bad now. I didn't even know you were doing that. Oh, I didn't even know you had a domain. Good job, girl. Hell yeah. Lookbook. Interesting. So what are these eventually going to be? Bye, Fire Seal. Thanks for coming. Like, what's the product you see for that in the end, Spongy? Like, what's its final vehicle? Gym out. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. I'm probably going to end the stream shortly. So if anybody has anything they want to talk about that's pressing, I guess we've been talking about a lot of shit, but want to eventually be streaming late into the night again, but until I finish and get to a point with these commissions where I'm safe to. Imagine a catalog here. Oh, so similar to what Gabe's done with Jupiter or Meat Legends, where it's kind of a companion book for like NPCs and worlds. That's awesome, man. Those do really well too, honestly. People seem to really enjoy them. And it's really cool too, because it doesn't just breach like D&D. It could be interesting for anyone, you know? Sure, your ideal situation might be D&D, but you know, you never know how your work ends up being used, which is part of the reason it's fun to make it. A lot of the time people have been like, oh yeah, I'm gonna use this as my D&D character. I'm like, okay. You know, some things you don't have control over, and even if you don't want someone to use it for something, it's like, well, what can I do? But really, it's interesting to find out what people do end up using them for. And I think that's part of the fun of doing art nowadays. Because even though you may pick a specific vehicle for it, it may take a whole different turn, you know? But I think that'd be cool, Spongy. Oh, thanks, Mayfox. So, a fun thing when it comes to props and stuff, and, you know, the fact I've done probably close to 300 of these commissions is I never do the same thing twice, right? So, it puts a lot of pressure on me to design things again and again and again and again, each time different, so that I don't, you know, start cookie cuttering things, because then things are less intimate if you figure out an actual formula for stuff. So I try really hard to still make each of these unique. So thank you for that. Thanks for all the advice. I'm going to start compiling things. Is there a place here for canvas wraps? So Muffins, I gotta be honest, I have no idea where to go for canvas. Honestly, if I had to mention someone I know that does the canvas prints, do you know who Pooey is? Pooey does a lot of canvas stuff. He'd probably be good. He's an open book when it comes to information too. He's really nice about that. So you could always contact him. Hey, Kristen, that's great! We didn't go over the whole commission workshop. Sorry. At some point, I'm going to have to take you through that because there's a bunch I didn't tell you. So like using like slips, flyers, having something on your table, things like that. Like we need to talk about that. Oh, Creech, I bet they help though. Backstories always help with designing things. Yeah, sorry, Kristen. I don't... Oh, bye, Spongy! Oh, I'll raid you then. I'll hold out. I'll hold out and I'll raid you. So, Kristen, I don't know why I got really busy, so I'm really sorry about that. When's your next show? Because then we can make sure that we've got that figured out for the next one. Yeah, God, time got away from me. I'm so sorry. 2 weeks. Okay. Alright, could you send me an email? Because, like I said, I'm scatterbrained. Just be like, commission stuff. And I'll be like, okay. We can go over this now. Yeah, I totally dropped the ball on that. But hey, you got one on your own, so that's fantastic. You know what you're doing. Anything I can tell you, then I'll just help. Because you seem to know how to do it, so that's fantastic. I know you had said and shown me you have that, like, option sheet right? Of all the different things you can do, yeah? Okay. Man, I didn't even... What am I doing here? Totally forgot, like, colors and things. See, this is what I'm talking about. Remember earlier I said sometimes I just space and forget to color in stuff? This is totally what I was referring to. Right here, like this. Dun, dun, dun. And like, that'll be gold. That'll be gold. Gold. White. Okay, so I need more this. Yeah, Mayfox. Yep. That P.O. box is good to go. I called Gabe and hung up. Trying to get his attention. Oh, remember, never use markers without a bleed sheet, which I totally forgot to do. Where's my bleed sheet? Well, that's lame. Oh, there it is. Of witchy things. I don't do Wicca. Wicca is a specific type. Think of it like it's its own religion. It's not just the catch-all for all witchy things, but, I mean, sort of. I think that's on a case-by-case basis. Did you see my text?
Yeah.
Were you sleeping?
No.
Oh. What are you doing?
Just sculpted.
Oh. I didn't like Wicca because a lot of Wicca actually is kind of, from what I found out, it's a lot of pretty selfish things, I'll say. Example, it's all like how to get someone to love you or how to get back at somebody you don't like. And I didn't like any of those. You know, if anything, like druidic magic or white magic is a lot more beneficial and sweet and kind as a whole. Green magic, things like that. 'Cause Wicca, it's kind of selfish. It's pretty selfishly based.
I think that's like Barnes and Noble Wicca though.
Well, I don't know, because the books that I was reading in that bookstore in England, that's what made me.
That's what I'm getting at. It's like
But even so, I think it is usually more selfish. You know, when it's like try to make your own life better, try to get more money, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, but I mean, if you do, in my opinion, doing anything kind of witchy or whatever, I mean, depending on what you mean by witchy. If you're talking about just using like natural elements in a spiritual way, that can be different. So I'd say I don't believe in witchy, like calling it witchy, but I do, like I carry around acorns and I believe they have their own power and I respect nature and all living things. Like, I'm a vegetarian, so that plays into it. Like, it's it's a very personal thing, you know. It's one of those sorts of things. So I don't know. No one's ever actually asked me, so I've never had to describe it. But I don't know. If I had to say what religion I am, I would say I am my own, which it's like, which I feel like is what religion should be to people. Whatever makes you feel your best self and helps you to be your best self without hurting other people. That should be what religion is, you know, a belief that betters you, helps others, and doesn't hurt anyone. That sort of thing. And, you know, it's weird when religions seem to start, like, I guess, dividing themselves up, you know? Honey, what are you doing? You okay? Were you sleeping? Are you taking a nap? Oh no, is your nose plugged? You okay? Yeah, I do. I mean, they're plastic, but they still mean something, you know? Interesting, May Fox. Yeah, and see, depending on that sort of thing, you kind of have to look into it. Honestly, Wicca is probably the most well-known of the witchy religions, so I think a lot of people just kind of do the catch-all by saying, oh, you're a witch, you're Wiccan, and it's like, no, there's more to it than that. So, oh, that's great, Jazz. So it's one of those things where you kind of have to go and see what aligns most with your beliefs. Just like any other religion, you know, different witchy religions have different things they find important, you know? So it's important to, you know, obviously look at what that means and, you know, make sure you're aligning yourself with something that you believe in and not to accidentally align yourself with something you don't. Oh yeah, and Creech, I agree with you. They're all myths, you know, they're all stories in my opinion, but you try to tell someone Jesus is just a character and was never a real man, they're gonna probably freak out, you know. So it's hard to tell other people that when they themselves are believing in a certain religion. So, no, I agree with you, you know, and Jesus might as well be another Hercules in my opinion, something like that, but, you know, people are going to believe what they're going to believe, and that's okay. Like I said, as long as it makes them a better person without hurting other people, who cares what they believe? Let them believe what they want to believe. Like, the fact that people are so upset with what other people believe, thinking it's going to hurt their way of living, is kind of beyond me. It's like, believe what you're going to believe in. Leave people alone. Let them do what they're gonna do. As long as it doesn't hurt anyone, you're good. There you go, Paladin. You got it, you know. I told Paladin you got his package okay, and you loved it.
Oh yeah, it's so awesome.
Seriously, Gabe really fawned over it, and he really enjoyed it.
Whoa.
We both did. It was nice to see your work in person.
Yeah.
You know? Because bless the cameras, but they don't show as much as in life does.
Honey.
Do you want to cuddle? Yeah, I know. We're going to cuddle soon. I'm waiting for Spongy to start streaming.
Oh.
And then I'm going to raid Spongy. So, actually, now that you're here, Gabe, could you open up her Twitch? So I could, you could tell me when she starts? Because Ashley getting hungry. Need the food. Shh,
Hey.
honey. Shh. No. Go get something. Go get a toy for now. We'll cuddle in a minute, I promise. Okay? But you gotta get a toy. Where's your tennis? Where's your tennis, honey? I should always have a toy.
Yeah, she's streaming.
She is?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we've had the religion talk, we can end the stream. Okay, so Gabe will be streaming on Monday. I stream on Thursdays. Both of us stream at 4 p.m. Central. So you can find us Mondays and Thursdays. Paladin is glad you liked the minis. See, and really quick, I feel like being an atheist is similar to being religious of any kind and saying there is a God, and atheist saying there is no God. How can either of you say either of those things? You know, like, it's a prideful thing where it's like neither has evidence of one or the other. It's almost safer to just be like, there's something, and just leave it at that, you know? Because I feel like atheists almost have a similar problem that, like, fundamentalist religious people do, where they'd swear there's something, and then atheists would swear there's nothing, that sort of thing. So, you're welcome, May. Thanks for the good question, by the way. That was actually really enlightening even for myself to kind of walk through, because honestly, I'd never really thought about it. It is, Paladin. It's really funny. So, okay, like I said, Monday's Gabe, Thursday's me. I'll probably be doing the same thing I was doing today on Thursday, next Thursday, because I'm still doing some deadlines. I might throw in doing something fun, you know, or if I'm able to rejigger my time a bit, I might be doing something start to finish on the stream, so we'll see. I'm going to throw everybody over to Spongy, because she's the best soul I know. She is a saint, basically. So let's go raid Spongy, because she deserves it. And you guys can have fun with her. She has a calming, loving tone. Okay? Great person. Great person. Wonderful artist, too. So let's go raid Spongy. She's good. So I'll see you guys on another Thursday. Unless you go on Gabe's stream on Monday. Then I'll see you there. So thanks for coming. Bye!